You've said, though, that if you did run for president, you believe you'd win.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd win. I tell you what, I wouldn't go in to lose. I've never gone in to lose in my life.
I mean, I think Donald Trump functions well when everything is in order and he's doing fine and he's dominating.
Imagine for a moment that the future isn't as unpredictable as we think. What if it's already been written in the stars? Now, what if a psychic from nearly a century ago foresaw the rise of one of the most controversial figures in modern politics? Today, we unravel the fascinating predictions of Edgar Cayce, the man known as the Sleeping Prophet, and his eerie insights about Donald Trump. With the 2024 U.S. presidential election fast approaching, could these prophecies offer a glimpse into what lies ahead for the country? Could Trump's destiny have been etched into time long before any of us realized? Prepare to be captivated as we delve into this mystery, uncovering startling revelations that may just change the way you view both the past and the future. What does this mean for America, and perhaps the entire world? Let's find out. When we examine Edgar Cayce's prophecies in the context of Donald Trump, the parallels are truly astonishing. Cayce described a leader who would come from an unexpected background, not a traditional politician, but an outsider with a strong personality and a flair for controversy. This description fits Trump perfectly, as his rise to political power defied all norms. From being a real estate mogul and reality TV star to his surprising victory in the 2016 election, Trump has consistently been a figure who challenges expectations. Cayce also spoke of the profound impact this leader would have on the nation, predicting a period of significant change and turmoil. Under Trump's administration, the United States experienced considerable political and social upheaval. From policy changes to public protests, his tenure was marked by fierce division and passionate debate. Cayce's vision of a leader capable of bringing about such profound shifts seems to align with the reality of Trump's presidency. Furthermore, Cayce's prophecies often included references to economic and global shifts. He foresaw a time when America would face financial challenges, but also have opportunities for economic transformation. Trump's policies, particularly his focus on trade deals and economic reforms, were aimed at reshaping the country's economic landscape. Whether these changes are viewed as positive or negative, there is no denying the significant impact they have had on the nation's economy. Before we delve deeper into this discussion, it's crucial to emphasize that our objective here is not to advocate for any specific viewpoint, but rather to explore the narratives and interpretations that people have been discussing around this topic. Edgar Cayce, known as the Sleeping Prophet, left behind a wealth of prophecies that continue to fascinate many. Among his most intriguing predictions is the rise of a powerful figure in America, a leader who would emerge during a time of great upheaval. Many believe this figure is none other than Donald Trump. But what exactly did Cayce foresee, and how do his visions align with Trump's remarkable political ascent? Cayce, while in a trance-like state, described a leader who would shake the foundations of the status quo. This individual, according to Cayce, would not be a traditional politician, but an outsider with a strong personality, capable of bringing both challenge and change. Trump's rise from real estate mogul and television star to U.S. president seems to fit this description perfectly, as he defied all norms and expectations in his path to power. A striking element of Cayce's prophecy was the mention of a leader who would challenge the existing power structures. Trump's confrontational approach to governance, marked by his battles with the media and political figures, aligns closely with this vision. He has consistently portrayed himself as a disruptor, willing to take on entrenched institutions and shake up the political landscape. Cayce also predicted that this leader would face immense opposition but maintain a fiercely loyal following. This mirrors the sharp divide during Trump's presidency, where he encountered strong resistance from critics yet unwavering support from his base. The duality between Trump's supporters and detractors reflects Cayce's prophecy of polarization. Beyond the political realm, Cayce's prophecies carry a spiritual undertone, calling for higher consciousness and collective reflection. In the context of Trump's leadership, these challenges may serve as a catalyst for societal growth, urging believers to reflect on deeper implications of governance and unity. As we dig deeper, a clearer picture emerges. One of the most discussed biblical prophecies is found in the book of Daniel. Daniel 2:21 states, "He changes times and seasons, he deposes kings and raises up others, he gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to the discerning." This passage speaks to the idea that leadership and power are divinely ordained. Cayce's prediction of a significant leader rising during a time of upheaval resonates with this concept. Trump's unexpected rise to power and the dramatic changes during his presidency could be seen as part of a divine plan, aligning with the biblical notion that God orchestrates the rise and fall of leaders. Another pertinent prophecy is found in the book of Revelation. Revelation 13:5-7 describes a powerful leader who wields great influence and faces significant opposition. The beast was given a mouth to utter proud words and blasphemies and to exercise its authority for 42 months. It opened its mouth to blaspheme God and to slander his name and his dwelling place and those who live in heaven. It was given power to wage war against God's holy people and to conquer them. While this figure is often interpreted in an eschatological context, the imagery of a polarizing leader who speaks boldly and faces fierce resistance has parallels to Trump's tenure. The stark division and intense reactions to Trump's leadership echo the biblical portrayal of a contentious figure. The prophecy of the end times in Matthew 24:6-8 also provides an interesting lens through which to view Cayce's predictions. This passage reads, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of birth pains." The themes of conflict, upheaval, and significant change align with the periods of turmoil that both Cayce and biblical prophets foresaw. Trump's presidency, marked by contentious international relations and domestic strife, fits into this broader narrative of a world in flux. Furthermore, the prophecy of the man of sin in 2 Thessalonians 2:3-4 is often cited in discussions of modern leaders. It reads, "Don't let anyone deceive you in any way, for that day will not come until the rebellion occurs and the man of sin is revealed, the man doomed to destruction. He will oppose and will exalt himself over everything that is called God or is worshipped, so that he sets himself up in God's temple, proclaiming himself to be God." While this passage is typically associated with the Antichrist in Christian eschatology, the characteristics of opposition, self-exaltation, and rebellion can be seen in various controversial leaders throughout history. Some interpret Trump's actions and rhetoric as aligning with these traits, though such interpretations are highly subjective and contentious. Cayce's predictions also emphasize a period of spiritual awakening and transformation, a theme echoed in biblical prophecies. In Joel 2:28-29, it is written, "And afterward, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy, your old men will dream dreams, your young men will see visions. Even on my servants, both men and women, I will pour out my spirit in those days." This vision of a widespread spiritual revival aligns with Cayce's belief in a higher consciousness and the interconnectedness of humanity. The idea that Trump's era could be a catalyst for such an awakening adds a hopeful dimension to these predictions. Another aspect of biblical prophecy that resonates with Cayce's visions is the role of a leader in bringing about significant societal change. Isaiah 45:1-3 speaks of Cyrus, a historical figure used by God to fulfill divine purposes. "This is what the Lord says to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I take hold of to subdue nations before him, and to strip kings of their armor, to open doors before him so that gates will not be shut. I will go before you and will level the mountains. I will break down gates of bronze and cut through bars of iron. I will give you hidden treasures, riches stored in secret places, so that you may know that I am the Lord, the God of Israel, who summons you by name. Some see Donald Trump in a similar light, as a leader who, despite his flaws and controversies, may be used to achieve a greater purpose. Moreover, the notion of a chosen one, or an anointed leader, is a common theme in both biblical and Cayce's prophecies. The parallels between the biblical figure of King David and modern leaders like Trump are often drawn by those who believe in the divine selection of leaders. David, despite his imperfections, was chosen by God to lead Israel and accomplish significant feats. Similarly, some interpret Trump's unconventional rise and his impact on global politics as part of a divine plan. However, it's crucial to approach these comparisons with caution. Prophecies are inherently open to interpretation, and the context in which they were written differs significantly from today's world. While the parallels can be striking, they can also be subjective and influenced by personal beliefs and biases. The danger of confirmation bias, seeing what we want to see in prophecies, must be acknowledged. As we delve deeper into Edgar Cayce's predictions, it's essential to recognize both his successes and his failures. While many of his predictions were remarkably accurate, some did not come to pass. For instance, Cayce predicted the return of Jesus by the year 2000, a prophecy that has yet to be fulfilled. Despite these discrepancies, Cayce's legacy as a prophet and healer remains influential and inspiring. Some say that no one will be expecting the rapture when it occurs. They say that it could happen at any time, like a thief in the night is not expected. They say that Christ will come at an unexpected time, but Jesus said that his people would know the season of time, but not the exact day or hour. No one knows about that day or hour, not even the angels in heaven. Matthew 24:36. The context of not knowing the day nor the hour, though, comes right after Jesus told us that we would know the season. He said, "Now learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. Even so, when you see all these things, you know that it is near, right at the door. Truly I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. But about that day or hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father." Matthew 24:32-36. We all want good things to happen in our lives, but too often we want it now, not later. When it doesn't happen that way, we are tempted to ask, "When, God, when?" Most of us need to grow in the area of trusting God instead of focusing on the when question. If you're missing joy and peace, you're not trusting God. If your mind feels worn out all the time, you're not trusting God. The tendency to want to know about everything that's going on can be detrimental to your Christian walk. Sometimes knowing everything can be uncomfortable and can even hurt you. I spent a large part of my life being impatient, frustrated, and disappointed because there were things I didn't know. God had to teach me to leave things alone and quit feeling that I needed to know everything. I finally learned to trust the one who knows all things and accept that some questions may never be answered. We prove that we trust God when we refuse to worry. God wants us to live by discernment, revelation knowledge, not head knowledge. It's difficult to exercise discernment if you're always trying to figure everything out, but when you're willing to say, "God, I can't figure this out, so I'm going to trust you to give me revelation that will set me free," then you can be comfortable in spite of not knowing. Trusting God often requires not knowing how God is going to accomplish what needs to be done and not knowing when He will do it. We often say, "God is never late," but it's important to remember that he isn't early either. The reason is simple. God uses waiting as a powerful tool to stretch our faith, to refine us, and to create growth in our lives. Change is not instantaneous, it's a process. Many people desire transformation but resist the waiting that comes with it. The truth is, waiting is inevitable. What matters is not whether we wait, but how we wait. If we choose to wait with frustration, we become miserable. But if we embrace the wait in God's way, we learn patience, and through that, we find peace and even joy in the process. It takes time and effort, but with God's help, patience is cultivated, and it becomes one of the most vital Christian virtues. As Galatians 5:22 reminds us, patience is a fruit of the Spirit. It is not developed in comfort but in trial through endurance and steadfastness. James 1:4 encourages us not to shy away from difficulties, but to allow patience to do its work in us, making us whole, mature, and lacking in nothing. As patience grows, so does our satisfaction in life. We find ourselves more content, more at peace, even in challenging times. Our relationship with God is no exception. It too is constantly evolving. My own walk with God is far deeper and more grounded than it was in my early Christian journey. While it may not always feel as emotionally intense, it has become richer, more stable, and full of spiritual maturity. Trusting God is something we learn over time through experiences that test our faith. With each step, we witness His unwavering faithfulness, and slowly but surely, we stop relying on our own strength and fully place our trust in Him. Each waiting period, each trial, becomes a testimony to His goodness and His perfect timing. Looking at it like this, it is easy to see how timing plays an important part in learning to trust God. If He did everything we asked for immediately, we would never grow and develop. Timing and trust work side by side. Accept God's timing. God gives us hopes and dreams for certain things to happen in our lives, but He doesn't always allow us to see the exact timing of His plan. Although frustrating, not knowing the exact timing is often what keeps us in the program. There are times when we might give up if we knew how long it was going to take. But when we accept God's timing, we can learn to live in hope and enjoy our lives while God is working on our problems. We know that God's plan for our lives is good, and when we entrust ourselves to Him, we can experience total peace and happiness. The book of Genesis tells the story of Joseph, who waited many years for the fulfillment of the dream God had given him. He was falsely accused and imprisoned before the time came for him to do what God had shown him he was to do. Exodus 13:17-18 tells us that God led the Israelites the longer, harder way on their journey to the Promised Land because He knew they were not yet ready to go in. There had to be time for their training, and they had to go through some very trying situations. They wasted a lot of time wondering about God's timing, but God never failed to take care of them and show them what He wanted them to do. The same is true in our lives. It was many years after I received my call from God in February of 1976 before I finally began to see major fulfillment of what God had called me to do. God's training period simply requires us to do what He tells us to do when He tells us to do it, without questioning or trying to figure everything out. Learn to rely on God. Proverbs 16:9 says, "A man's mind plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps and makes them sure." Proverbs 20:24 says, "Man's steps are ordered by the Lord. How then can a man understand his way?" When God directs our paths, He sometimes leads us in ways that don't make sense to us, so we're not always going to understand everything. If we try to reason out everything, we will experience struggle, confusion, and misery. But there is a better way. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, "Lean on, trust in, and be confident in the Lord with all your heart and mind, and do not rely on your own insight or understanding. In all your ways, know, recognize, and acknowledge Him, and He will direct and make straight and plain your paths." This sounds so simple, yet too many people make the mistake of trying to figure everything out themselves. Most of us have spent our lives trying to take care of ourselves. But when we accept Christ as our Savior, we must learn to trust our lives to His care. When we do, we can say with the psalmist, "I trusted in, relied on, and was confident in you, O Lord. I said, you are my God. My times are in your hands." Psalm 31:14-15. 1 Peter 5:5 tells us that God sets Himself against the proud, the insolent, the overbearing, the disdainful, the presumptuous, and the boastful. He opposes, frustrates, and defeats them, but gives grace, favor, and blessing to the humble. Anyone who thinks they are a self-made man or woman has a rude awakening coming, because Jesus said, "Apart from me, cut off from vital union with me, you can do nothing." John 15:5. Humility is a covering that draws the help of God into our lives to protect us. When we humble ourselves by saying, "God, I don't know what to do, but I'm trusting you," God gets in gear to help us. God won't allow us to succeed at anything unless we're leaning and relying on Him. But when we humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God, in due time, He will exalt us. See 1 Peter 5:6. Due time is God's time, when God knows we're ready, not when we think we're ready. The sooner we understand and accept that, the sooner God can work His plan in our lives. From seed time to harvest, Ecclesiastes 3:1 tells us, "To everything there is a season, and a time for every matter or purpose under heaven." This lets us know that we don't all live in the same season at the same time. You should never be jealous of someone who is enjoying harvest while you're still in the planting season. Remember, they had to go through a season of planting just as you are. Seeing the results they are enjoying should be an encouragement to you. Understand and trust that God is doing the very best for you in your present season. Seed time represents learning the will of God. Each time I choose God's will instead of my own, I'm planting a good seed that will eventually bring a harvest in my life. If you want to be victorious, you cannot afford to get pulled into the world system doing what you feel like doing. James 1:21 tells us what we should do. Get rid of all uncleanness and the rampant outgrowth of wickedness, and in a humble, gentle, modest spirit, receive and welcome the word which, implanted and rooted in your hearts, contains the power to save your souls. Your soul is your mind, your will, and your emotions. When the word gets rooted in there and begins to change your mind, it begins to heal your emotions and turn your will away from self-will and onto doing the will of God. Living out of one's own soul is equivalent to staying in the wilderness. When my flesh is finally crucified and I get out of my soul and into doing the will of God, that's when I enter the promised land. The promised land is knowing who you are in Christ, knowing how to fellowship with Him, enjoying His presence, and having peace, contentment, and joy. Between seed time and harvest comes a time of waiting. After a seed is planted, the heat, moisture, and pressure of the ground finally cause the outer hull to crack open. Then, roots shoot down, digging their way through the ground. It takes time for this to happen, and it takes place underground. Above the ground, you can't tell anything is happening. That's the way our lives are after we plant seeds of obedience. We feel like nothing is happening, but all kinds of things are happening inside, where we can't see. Like the seed that finally bursts through the ground with a beautiful green shoot, our seeds of obedience finally break forth into a beautiful manifestation of God in our lives. When harvest time finally arrives, the long-awaited desires of your heart begin to unfold before your eyes. You witness bondages breaking, long-standing struggles falling away, and your deepest dreams becoming a reality. It's as if the seeds of faith and perseverance you've planted for so long suddenly spring to life. You see the transformation in your family, your children growing, changing, and your loved ones coming to know salvation. In this season of harvest, blessings pour out openly. Prosperity, favor, promotion, honor, and abundance flood your life, all visible and tangible. This is a time when the Spirit of God leads you more clearly than ever, and you are filled with joy and delight. as blessings seem to chase you down at every corner. The peace of God becomes your daily companion, and joy is the mood of your soul. But perhaps you're reading this and feeling weary, tired of waiting for your harvest. You've been planting seeds in faith, but the ground still seems barren. You're asking, "When, God? When will my time come?" The frustration and uncertainty of waiting can be heavy, but there's something crucial you must understand. God's timing is always perfect, though often mysterious. He doesn't operate on our schedules or within the limits of our expectations. Yet, His word assures us that He is never late, not by a single day. In Habakkuk 2:3, we are reminded, "But these things I plan won't happen right away. Slowly, steadily, surely, the time approaches when the vision will be fulfilled. If it seems slow, do not despair, for these things will surely come to pass. Just be patient. They will not be overdue a single day." God's timing is precise. He brings forth the harvest not a moment too soon and not a moment too late. When it feels like everything is taking too long, know that He is working behind the scenes, arranging things for your good. The delay is not denial, it is preparation. Our job during this waiting period is not to stress over the when or how. Instead, we must decide not to give up, no matter how long the wait may seem. God's promises are certain, and He has a radical, abundant future waiting for you. The finish line is there, but you must persevere in faith. Trusting Jesus with your journey is what brings true life and peace. The more you keep your eyes fixed on Him, the more rest you will find for your soul. One of the greatest lessons in faith is learning to let go of control. The tendency to want to figure everything out, to know every step of the plan, is natural, but it often leads to frustration and burnout. Trusting God is an act of surrender. It means letting Him be God in your life, knowing that He loves you infinitely and has an extraordinary plan for your life. He doesn't just want you to be happy, He wants to fill your life with purpose, joy, and fulfillment that far surpasses anything you could plan on your own. So, in this season of waiting, don't lose hope. God is faithful. The harvest will come, and when it does, it will be overflowing with blessings beyond what you could imagine. Keep trusting, keep believing, and let His perfect timing unfold. Your story is still being written, and the best is yet to come. As we wrap up this fascinating journey, it's clear that prophecy has long served as a powerful lens through which we can better understand the world around us. The insights of Edgar Cayce and the ancient biblical prophets provide us with a unique perspective on history, leadership, and the unseen forces that may be at work. Could the rise of Donald Trump, as foretold by Cayce, be part of a grander, divinely guided narrative? These questions leave us not only pondering the past, but also curious about what the future holds. Even our relationship with God requires continuous change. My relationship with God now is far different from when I first became a Christian. Although the initial excitement is gone, it has become much better. Every change I go through helps me become more mature, stable, and grounded. We learn to trust God through many experiences that require trust. By witnessing God's faithfulness time and time again, we gradually let go of trusting ourselves and place our trust in Him. When viewed this way, it's clear that time plays an essential role in learning to trust God. If He answered every prayer immediately, we would never grow and mature. Time and trust go hand in hand, and accepting God's timing is essential. God gives us hopes and dreams for certain things to happen in our lives, but He doesn't always allow us to see the exact timing of His plan. Now, it's your turn. What do you think about these predictions? Could there be deeper forces at play in shaping our world, or are these just intriguing coincidences? We'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to share them in the comments below. If this video sparked your curiosity, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more captivating explorations into the mysteries of prophecy and the secrets of history. Stay tuned for more insights and keep asking questions, because the truth is always out there waiting to be discovered. Until next time.